Hi, it's Brett and Harry. This is new. This is a new format. We figure that there's a gap between our posts, and there's still lots to talk about. So let's talk about it. But it's going to be different. There's no scripts. We don't really know where this is going to go, and we're just going to ask simple, quick questions. So I reckon let's just get into it, mate. We're thinking in terms of Queensland v the Lions on Wednesday night. There's lots to get into there.
What did our Voss production crew call it? Quick licks?
Yes.
Is it quick kicks?
That was the best they could come up with.
Quick licks.
Yeah.
All right, guys, fellas, we'll go.
So let's lick quickly.
So we're licking at this thing, and we don't want to be like, digesting it, and we don't want to go through like 5 stomachs of the cow. We're just going straight at it, question, and we just make up an answer. Yeah, I got it.
Let's go. Fire away.
First question is, these games, obviously, it is about the Reds, but also it's using these games to get ready for the actual test. So we know that the Lions could sort of play 3 different ways. And it's mostly in the pack that difference will happen, because at the backs, I think it's clear Finn Russell's going to drive the ship unless he's injured. I think there's only a certain amount you can really tweak in a month on a sophisticated back attack. So I think the naming of the pack, I think the Lions can go bully pack, they can go speed pack, they can go jackal pack. They've got an extraordinary amount of open siders, so they can just flood it, and they can use Tyburn as an extra and Dan Sheehan, so they can just jackal you all night long. Or they can go speed with Henry Pollock, with Ben Earl, with Tom Curry, with Josh van der Fleer, and sacrifice some size in the locks. Or they can just put down what you would expect before this whole thing started: Genge, Sheehan, Stewart, Joe, Morrow, Byrne, Conan, and just try to streamload and then bring reinforcements off the bench. So I kind of think this Reds match is sort of a nice way for them to look at the bully. Because I think the Reds pack with Aiden Ross, Matt Fessler, Jeffrey, Josh, Lucan, it's sizable. It's a tough match.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. I think at international level, I think it's all becoming about the power game now. And yeah, it's great to have that points of difference. But I think if I'm the Lions, I'm just wanting to go power and just pick as big a pack as possible and establish the set piece dominance early and use it to your advantage. Like if there's no bonus points in this, there's no qualification period, there's no knockout period to go. You just have to win test matches. So if that's done 5 penalties to 3, so be it. That's the way I'd be aiming up. I'd be picking as big a pack as you can and just going straight through the middle and force the Australian teams to try and counter that, because power is probably not the name of the Australian game. Is that reasonable to say?
Yeah, and I also think because when times get tough, and we've just seen all these grand finals go through, it all tightened up. Even Crusaders Chiefs became that way.
Exactly.
There's a return to something and one thing we do know about these Northern Hemisphere teams is they know how to play in the rain, when it's grim, when there's about 3 line breaks for both teams. So I do think, even though the Prem has been actually highly entertaining, quick ruck, a lot of scoring, they do have an ability to go there. Maybe Aaron Farrell saying, okay, we've done the speed pack against Argentina, and we had some wrinkles. We did sort of a jackal pack. We had Henry Pollock running around. Maybe let's go play the Reds and just see what it looks like to punch them in the face. And it's sort of, to me, it sets up for Queensland too. Like okay, let's bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of feeds into my question, I think. Queensland have gone a 6-2 bench, and on that bench, they've got a completely new tight 5. So does that almost force the Lions to unveil that set-piece game? I think it does.
Yeah, and especially because the loose trio for the Lions, which always plays a part, is Conan, Curry, and Jack. And so I think
Morgan,
yeah. So I think the Reds could actually, if they can put if the starting tight 5 for the Reds can absorb in their brains that they just empty themselves. I mean, spend it all. Sort of that Bach kind of thing where you just go, bomb squad's coming, so spend it all, and they can take it to the Lions. I don't think it's enough to soak it up and get parity. I mean, take it to them. Then it could be interesting, because when you can bring on waves of tight forwards And let's say,
Yes.
I don't know if I think it is raining in Queensland. It could be, it could be interesting. And home pitch does matter always.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
Brumbies win
Although
over the Lions with the red-headed guy, Kimlin.
Kimlet, yeah.
There's a
Well,
certain,
they did that with and I've been looking into both the Queensland and the Ace and the Brumbies games from 2013 for a rugby pass piece this week. Don't mind the traffic going past here. And those games became tight.
yes.
Those early tries, but they became tight and they became all about penalty goals from there on. So, yeah, I think it does. I think it's setting up that way. This will be the hardest game the Lions have played so far. Queensland will be wanting to be the ones that gave them the hardest game. So I think it heads that way. I think that's what we're going to see.
And the pressure transfers. So if the Reds can come up firing, Les Kiss can do his monster motivational speech, and for let's say for 55 minutes, it is really tight, and the score is 10-all or something. All that pressure heaps on these various lines that'll be coming off the bench. You'll see, playmakers, the midfield, the scram, all those things start to become really complicated because you do have Hunter Paisami and the Josh Fluke, ready to go, ready and loaded. I think there is a pressure transfer. However, there's another thing that could happen here, which is the Lions come in and do this bully pack and just blow them off the field.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's still enough mobility in their back row that they could still have an impact on what is still a pretty raw Queensland back row. So, they could actually have their cake and eat it.
Yeah, and
that's actually what fascinates me about this.
And I do worry a little bit about Jamison Gibson Park and Finn Russell pulling the strings against Kalani and Harry, because that is a rather severe mismatch on paper.
Yes, it is. It is. I agree. So what's the last one here?
Oh, last question is, Jock Campbell. I've always been partial to him. He was picked by Dave Rennie. I think he had 4 matches on that fateful end-of-year tour, that tour from hell.
Yeah, that 22 tour,
He played well. He was obviously featured really well in the win over Scotland, which is, something that hasn't been done that much recently. Very close games against France, and also the win against Wales. And he played well, but, he was out of favor since then. He's about 30 years old now, 93 caps for the Reds. Is this, because he's now captain, is this the biggest opportunity, the biggest game of his life, of his rugby life? Because here he sits here. What if he has a blinder?
Yeah, no, I think it is for a number of reasons. Yes, could he potentially lay down a marker? And look, it would be a bolt from the blue for him to suddenly come into the Wallabies squad. I think, because I think the list of options ahead of him is fairly significant. But what if he did? I agree with you. I think it's a huge match. But then, and the other side to it is, this is also a massive shop window game for him, because if, as you say, 100-odd games for Queensland, he captained his state on the biggest stage internationally, there's no better time to have a strong game against really, really high class quality opposition if the next part of his career is in Europe or is in Japan. So
exactly. Even if he never gets picked for the Wallabies again, it gets to bookend the story, the tale of his life. When he's 55 years old, he'll be at a pub talking about when I beat the Lions.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge opportunity. And if they pull it off, much like, I still remember Peter Kimlin, because he was the captain, I think. You always go,
he was.
Jock Campbell steered the victory, and he'll be viewed a
Absolutely.
different way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a really good, and because he is 30, I think we're probably aiming for the latter part of that argument than the former. If he was 26, then sure, he's still got a Wallaby future ahead of him.
Oh, I agree. But you never know with injuries. You never know with.
You don't.
You might look for just a proper fullback if Tom goes down or something happens. You go, do I really want an untested fullback back there? Maybe I just want a guy who plays fullback.
And look, there might actually be an opportunity. Andrew Kellaway has been sent back to play for New South Wales this weekend coming, so he's obviously not going to play against Fiji. So maybe there is an opportunity there. Yeah.
We hope the best. He seems like a very nice guy, and also I think he's someone I went back and saw what he signed for the Reds. Why? And he said the chance to play against the Lions. Ooh,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's 2
And
years
that's been
ago.
a-
He was thinking about this game.
And I think anyone who has re-signed a contract in the last 2 years has said exactly the same thing.
Sets up
Yeah,
nicely
yeah.
for Jock.
So that's
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah, cool. I think this has been neat, mate. There might be some legs in this. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you like the idea of a early week quick licks, who knows? This might have legs beyond. So
Quick licks.
tell us what you think. We'll see you back later in the week with Ben Darwin.
Cheers, guys. It'll be fun.